Yeah, but inclusion, yeah, it kind of, hey, it has been times with it, but it kind of goes back to the Saha Awards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Saha Awards. Remember when we went through the best females?
Yeah.
You know, and it turned out there that most of those females don't even rap.
They sing.
They sing
on trap beats.
On trap beats, and they feature rappers on those albums.
Exactly.
But them as artists, they're not rappers.
And as a result, what includes them in hip hop? Is singing a secret element of hip hop that we didn't know about?
Yeah, bro.
Very rarely does an artist find themselves right in the midst of being a pivotal channel of people's emotional experiences and then is suddenly swept into the rapture of label troubles, and then while trying to dribble all of that, Keza is taken up in the midst of a massive scandalous case, and then he emerges from that to create an album which redeems it all with the following of his core fans and the cult appreciation and love and adoration of the country. For anybody who hasn't guessed by now, we're talking about none other than the artist who I think at this point it's safe to say is at the edge of legendary. Sjava. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother, and I know you haven't seen this double team in a while. And you know, whenever I see double team, we are talking about topics. So it's basically any themes and conversations around African hip-hop, particularly South African hip-hop most of the time. If you want us to broaden up, talk to us if you're in another part of the continent. We want more of these tantalizing stories. But the most interesting story as of late, in the midst of a lot of what has been happening, tragedy and triumph, and I think we've spoken a lot to the tragedy, but a lot that reminds us of what to appreciate is also the triumphant moments. And I think this season was triumphant in the sense that Sjava released his new album Isibuko. And as a result, it's kind of created a story of redemption. A story that has proven the naysayers to actually be secret admirers, and a story that has kind of stood the test of time to show and prove something I think as the Headspace we constantly say, that you may have mass appeal, you may have consistency, you may even have emotional depth, but if you don't have originality, something is still lacking there. Now I say this because in Sjava's early years, even prior to Isinamuva, his debut album, he was accused of being a biter of Mashaya's Buka's digital Maskandi, which at that time was a style that I will say Mashaya's Buka pioneered in the public space, although I don't have any further evidence to say he actually originated it. I think conversations like these lead us nowhere because it's kind of almost impossible to say who did what first. And I think the narrative of the pioneer starts with the person who popularizes it. So as much as Mashaya's Buka was the earliest to do it, it's often said it's not who did it first, it's who did it right. And I think it is unapologetically proven that Sjava has done this style right. A style that reminds you of
Mashaya,
man. Excuse me, it's the easy course. I feel like that's it.
Should have been there.
We have Peace to Mashaya Buka. Love the music. Check the review. Anyways, I think in all of that, it's emerged to be proven that Sjava has been maybe the uncrowned king of this reinvention of Maskandi into the electric format of rap-influenced beats, trap influenced textures,
Yes.
and of course the cadences that are very much owe themselves to the culture of hip hop at large. And I think talking about the culture of hip hop at large, there have been a lot of people who've come to me. I think maybe some have come to you and they've said, "Yo, VJ,
inbox,
when are you reviewing
Isibuko?"
And it's worth the question because Isibuko did massive numbers. I don't know.
Yeah, in 7 days or maybe less than 7 days, it did about 7.7 million streams across all streaming services.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
When you look at how many people we actually have in this country, and then you narrow that down to how many young people, it's safe to say that Sjava has the hearts and attention of the majority of the youth in our times. And he's doing that whilst singing ngesiZulu. And I find that to be the most impressive part of Sjava's legacy. He's an artist who is through and through authentically South African. Sjava has sat down with Ebro, he's sat down with Rosenberg, he's fraternized with Americans and African Americans alike, and has won a BET, fucking stole the show on the Black Panther mixtape. Seasons is still one of my favorite joints of all time. Poverty, jealousy, oh my god. Anyways,
goes back to that authenticity.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
and I just want to admit right now in this episode, I used to low-key be annoyed by Sjava because I was ignorant. I'm just going to plain out admit it, as somebody who normally gravitates towards music that is rap centered, and if I'm not listening to rap, maybe it's folk, maybe it's electric dance. Something about how Sjava was presented on television didn't immediately pull me towards. Up until I rode in a car with a colleague of mine and he played a full Sjava album as we were traveling to a meeting.
Which is a Sunday move.
And the emotions just hit me. I realized at that moment that Sjava is one of the greatest songwriters we have in this country right now.
Yeah.
And this is why his sound speaks to the length and breadth of this country. Sjava is in the ilk of a Brenda Fassie in terms of his performance, and he's still in the ilk of a Kaifa Semenya in terms of his detail to artistry. I would go as far as saying Sjava is definitely one of the most valuable artists we have in this country at the moment. Because one thing he has done, he has consistently been an export of something uniquely and thoroughly South African, whilst at the very same time mingling with international trends in ways that give the world South Africa on our terms. So the Sjava narrative is clear. He's great through and through. Whether you look at his personal woes with Ambitious and how he has overcome that, being alongside A-Reese to be an artist that has proven themselves to not really be made by a label, but to be assisted by a label and be core in their talent. I think that's how you prove yourself. There's a lot of artists who are just hiding behind powerful corporates who are putting them everywhere, and we're hearing about them simply because there's the money to back them. And
because Nama was thinking, you know, a lot of people were thinking about how is he going to perform after being dropped by this label,
by Ambitious,
Ambitious. And then he started his own. I don't know alongside who, but they started this. It's Cartel, 1020 Cartel, something like that. You know, even the first singles there, then, because I think they started in 2020 or 2021, and then the first singles that he dished out, people, they were lukewarm, or I think it was also because of the scandal. It
coincided with the moment of Sjava being accused for what many now know he was accused by, who many know accused him for. And I don't think we'll mention her name because she's been through enough already. But what we will say is that Unyansila Dakeza, it was a tumultuous time in all the lives of the people involved in that moment. And I think it was hard for the music to resonate because it felt inauthentic, because it didn't speak to that moment. And I think with songs from the Umsebenzi project,
yes,
that's when people started to feel like, might this be the end of Sjava?
Yes,
and I think,
yes,
and I think when we look back to that moment, it's not so much that this was Sjava's demise. It was that because Sjava filtered into pop culture through being part of a major label, he's had the benefit of being an artist whose name lingers in people's imaginations because he's already been mass marketed.
Yes.
But now that he was kind of a solo dolo, so to speak,
independent,
it was up to his own sheer creativity to go beyond that, but also how he contextualizes his story. Because the moment you are introduced in the pop culture machine, you become a part of the celebrity narrative, and people feel like part of your story belongs to them. So I think it was crucial for Sjava to take back his story and to give it to us in a way where we could realize where he is. And I think that's also take back the power. And I think that's also what makes Isbuko such an incredible project, is that he addresses everything. He addresses the pain of the moments. He addresses the difficulties of his own inadequacies as a man. He addresses his own shortcomings. He addresses some of the blurry lines that are not always and hardly ever clear when the media gets involved, because the media is literally trained, hired, and used to create narratives that are only going to be sensationally driven so that they get people talking. So no newspaper article hardly ever really gives a narrative that is about the authentic experiences of those people. There's a need to always slant it in a way that's going to get people talking. There's a language about it that has to be flagrant and fiery. So I think
you could say on this album, you know what
I'm saying?
I've got his corner bedside, because I've got a bedside and a good side. You know, I'm a man.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a human being. I'm complicit and implicit in a lot of things you wouldn't like, but I'm also complicit and implicit in a lot of things that you do like. And I do not claim to be perfect. I just claim to be sincere. And I think with the title of the project, Sjava's always had the consistent thread of giving us sincerity, giving us titles that kind of epitomize where he is in life at that moment. And right now, he's giving us a mirror into who he is, and he's shining that mirror back to all of us. So I think there's a commonality that he's trying to do right here. But here's a question that I want us to address. Why won't we review this project with every shining thing that we've said about it? Why won't the Headspace be involved in this? Let's talk about it. Now, we famously made it known that there seems to be a deliberate
English
there seems to be a deliberate blurring of definitions as it comes to hip-hop, and I blame this on the industry. I think this was a very intentional plot to kind of sway people from the hip-hop culture into synonymizing rap with hip-hop as a whole. So I think many of us grew up calling rap music hip-hop music, when actually hip-hop is a culture which includes all of the elements of hip-hop. And so I think because of that misnomer, today we tend to assimilate any artist whose sound feels very akin to the drum patterns given to us by the growth of rap music over time as being a hip-hop artist. And on top and above that, I think that's been proven in the phenomenon of trap. We've also openly come on to say that trap is not hip-hop. Neither is it rap. It can have rapping in it, but the stylistic melodies, the way that trap was created, pull from many influences, and I think hip-hop culture and rap music are one of those. But also there's electronic dance, there's ambient synthesizers, there is the auto-tune, which is really taken from European house, and then it was experimented on with many different kinds of underground scenes. So when we're talking about trap, the artists primarily sing melodically in cadences that resemble rap. but it isn't rap most of the time at all. So I think this has been an ongoing topic. We are constantly exacerbating it because, I mean, the headspace feels like this is one of the most important topics to talk about. And it is because of that that as part of our activism of clearing up the deceptive notion that hip-hop is a kind of music, we will no longer review artists who filter into hip-hop culture because they fraternize with hip-hop artists and they work with rappers. Sjava was in a label alongside rappers, but he himself has never rapped.
Never rapped.
He's a singer.
He's a singer. Kind of, you know, inclusion, yeah, kind of, hey, it has been times with it, but it kind of goes back to the Saha Awards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Saha Awards. Remember when we went through the best females?
Yeah.
You know, and it turned out there that most of those females don't even rap.
They sing.
They sing
on trap beats.
On trap beats, and they feature rappers on those albums.
Exactly.
But them as artists, they're not rappers.
And as a result, what includes them in hip hop? Is singing a secret element of hip hop that we didn't know about?
Yeah, bro.
Because if it is, somebody tell us right now. Because according to my understanding, one of the things that fundamentally make hip hop different, Dakeza, as a culture, is that it tapped into the culture of toasting, chanting, and vocal poetic metric design, which we call rapping today.
Yeah.
The rhythm and the poetry is one of the things which separated hip hop in a time where funk existed, disco existed, jazz existed, and all of these styles of black expression came from a place where people sung. What made heads turn when it came to the attention around hip hop's musical arm, which stretched out in the form of rap, is the fact that these brothers and sisters were using their actual voice to create textures of spoken word that filters rhythmically into beats. So if you're gonna call me a purist for that, I think you misconstrue my desire for us to define things as they function with some kind of fundamental right to go back to the old. This has nothing to do with olden days. Even in modern times, Kendrick Lamar might implore a lot of singing in his hooks, but his projects are primarily done with vocalizations and textures of his own voice.
So it's kind of like the same, argument I've made some time ago about the fact that we say people say DJs are hip hop DJs, which is there's a difference though.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't scratch, you can't do this scratch, beat juggle, all these elements that make you a hip hop DJ, then you can't be called a hip hop DJ. But since a person is playing hip hop music,
supposed hip hop music,
so it gets filtered there, but okay, I let DJ well,
exactly.
My nigga.
Exactly, and this is to you, knowingly or unknowingly, who uses that term. If you want to fight for the right to use hip hop as some kind of umbrella term to filter in rap music and all the different styles that have emerged of rap music going into the era of trap, then you'll have to really give a good justifiable reason why. Because hip-hop emerged as part of a culture. And rap was the element that was taken from the culture because it was the most profitable. So as a result, the rapper became the superstar who became a Hollywood staple and a musical Billboard chart topper and a celebrity. So as a result, we enter into the phenomenon of golden era rap. Not golden era hip hop. We spoke about this in one of the reasons why the Grammy honoring of hip hop's 50th year is
rappers.
Is rappers.
Yeah, it's only rappers.
Where are the breakers?
Where are the graph writers?
Where are the graph writers? You know, so even many stalwarts of the culture have fallen to this pop culture misdefinition of rap as hip hop.
Yep.
So that was Sjava. As brilliant of an artist as he is, it would be disingenuous, it would be plain out wrong for hip hop heads on a channel that prioritizes African hip hop, for the reason being that hip hop has become a neglected culture because of the industry hijack that rap was done to it via rap music. When greedy white people saw the potential of rap as some kind of money-making scheme, they took the term, but they never gave the elements for the culture to grow. As a result, this is why legends who come wholly from the culture, who are breakers, who are graph writers, who are DJs, whether they turntable or they don't, are still in a position where they're on the rungs and they're neglected. And the story of hip-hop is still not fully actively told. So as hip-hop activists, it's time to actually stomp our foot and say, no more of this wishy-washy, hip-hop is everything. Hip-hop is a culture, and if somebody is not rapping and pledging allegiance to the elements of the culture somehow, why should we review?
Why should we review that?
You tell us.
Why should we?
Why should we?
Yeah.
Because we don't think we should. And this is no offense to,
and it doesn't matter whether you as heads. I know as heads sometimes with Sjava.
I mean,
you know, we bump his music, but facts are facts. He's not rapping. So
why do we still consider him hip hop? If Sjava, here's the thing. If Sjava is hip hop, then R. Kelly is hip hop.
Yeah.
If Sjava is hip hop, then Mary J. Blige
is hip hop.
So please, let's spark this conversation. If you're watching us, wherever you are right now, and you just feel like, nah, I don't agree, fellas, talk to us on the comment section. Make this go viral. This is an important...
Here's a question though, on the now thing about Sjava.
Yeah.
If, let's say, the late Nate Dogg had an album,
yeah,
would it be considered a
hip hop album?
Because he doesn't rap.
Just
because he features on.
Exactly. You see, many.
And sometimes Nate Dogg.
I mean, sometimes Nate Dogg, but the truth is, Nate Dogg was a vocalist.
Yes.
Nate Dogg was an R&B vocalist, aka a singing ass nigga, as many would say. So, I think it's time we become a little bit clearer on the terms we use, because when we're not clear about the words we use, it's very easy for other people who are clear of why they use these words to redirect us to their particular definition of the word. So I think the one thing I want to promote in this episode is real, deliberate, intentional, conscious critiquing and thinking on an individual capacity. Think about these definitions, think about the history, think about where we are right now musically. Do these words really fit what is actually being done? Because I don't think Sjava fits into what hip-hop is as a culture and what rap is as an art form. He fits more on the category of a vocalist, as a result a singer, and he fits into anything you could call him other than hip-hop or rap. He could be called Electric Neo Maskandi. I think this is the freedom to make up new terms,
new genres,
to make up new ways of describing new phenomenons. Because at some point, we just mentioned how Sjava might be trailing from a legacy of things that have been done, but he's doing something uniquely new. And I think it's artists like these who call for the need to create new terms.
Yes.
So maybe the problem is both ways. Maybe the problem is that we use old terms simply because we're not coming up with new ones, and also we do that because we're not consciously investigating what these terms mean. So if you're watching the Headspace right now and you're engaging with this episode, please talk to us, tell us what you think. We've told you what you think. So no Isibuko, folks, sorry, can't tell you whether or not I think the album is a classic, but I can tell you one thing for sure: Sjava as an artist is one of the most important features of our cultural capital right now, and I think rappers and hip-hop practitioners alike can benefit a lot from seeing the commonalities we have with other artists. Hip hop does not live.
Stop saying it's hip hop music.
Exactly. Hip hop doesn't live in a bubble too. Hip hop has fraternized with fine art, with sculpture, with fashion. So we're not saying hip hop stays in this corner where it doesn't mix with anything else, but we're saying there comes a time where that mixing can produce something totally different. And in the case of Sjava, it is what it is. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. And I've really missed doing these topics. I'm glad we got to do one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the subscribers can tell us, yes?
Yeah.
They should tell us, please subscribe, talk to us in the comment section. It's the H3ADSPACE Yossi, Kulisa Sonke, Africa's most poignant hip-hop channel.
Peace.